Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to English Naturally. I'm Marcy, and I am so happy you're here with me today. I've been teaching English for over 10 years now, and I've worked with thousands of students from all around the world. And you know what the most common thing I hear is? People tell me, Marcy, I've been studying English for years, but I still can't speak confidently. I understand everything, but when it's my turn to talk, I freeze. Does that sound familiar to you? If it does, I want you to know something right now. You're not broken. You're not bad at English. We're not too old or too slow or missing some special talent that other people have. The problem is not you. The problem is the way most people think about language learning. See, most English courses teach you like you're preparing for an exam. They give you grammar rules, vocabulary lists, exercises with right and wrong answers. But here's what they don't tell you. Real English fluency doesn't come from textbooks. It comes from bringing English into your life in small, natural, comfortable ways. Today, we're going to talk about the secret life of English learners, the things that happen when nobody's watching, when you're alone with your thoughts, when you're trying to figure this whole language thing out by yourself. Because here's the truth. The best English learning doesn't happen in classrooms. It doesn't happen during formal study sessions. It happens in the quiet corners of your life, in the spaces between your daily activities, in the moments when you think nobody's paying attention. But you're paying attention, and that's what matters. Today, I'm going to share with you 6 powerful techniques that you can use completely alone, without a teacher, without a partner, without any special equipment. Just you and your willingness to try something new. These techniques have helped thousands of my students break through their barriers and finally start feeling comfortable with English. Not perfect, comfortable. And comfort is where fluency begins. So grab your coffee, your tea, or whatever makes you comfortable, and let's dive in. I want to start with something that might sound a little bit unusual at first, but I promise you, if you stick with me on this, it could completely change your relationship with speaking English. I call it the whisper method. Now, before I explain how it works, let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I had a student named Maria. Maria was from Colombia, and she'd been living in the United States for about 3 years. She worked in an office. She had American friends. She watched TV in English every day. Her listening comprehension was excellent. She could understand pretty much everything. But when it came time to speak, Maria would freeze. Her mind would go completely blank. The words that she knew so well when she was listening or reading would just disappear, vanish into thin air. She came to me so frustrated. She said, "Marcy, I don't understand. I know these words. I know this grammar. But when I open my mouth, nothing comes out right." So I asked her, "Maria, when you try to speak English, what are you thinking about?" She said, "I'm thinking about whether my grammar is correct. I'm thinking about my accent. I'm thinking about whether the other person understands me. I'm thinking about whether I sound stupid." And right there, that's the problem. See, when you speak out loud, you're not just using language. You're also dealing with all of these other things. Your voice, your accent, how you sound to others, whether you'll be judged, whether you'll make mistakes. There's an English expression for this: to be self-conscious. It means you're overly aware of yourself, too focused on how others perceive you. And when you're self-conscious, your natural ability gets completely blocked. It's like trying to dance while worrying about whether you look silly. The worry stops the dancing. So here's what I told Maria to try, and it completely changed everything for her. I said, tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, before you check your phone, before you talk to anyone, I want you to whisper in English for just 2 minutes. She looked at me confused. Whisper? About what? I said, about anything. About what you're doing. About how you feel. About what you see around you. It doesn't matter. Just whisper. Now, let me explain to you why whispering is so powerful. First of all, when you whisper, your voice stays completely private. Even if someone is in the next room, they can't really hear what you're saying. This creates immediate safety. And when your brain feels safe, language flows so much more easily. There's no performance anxiety because there's no performance. There's no audience. Second, whispering naturally forces you to slow down. You can't rush through a whisper. You have to be deliberate, gentle with each word. And this slowness is actually beautiful for language learning because it gives your brain time to find the right words without panic, without pressure. Third, whispering feels almost playful. It feels like you're sharing a secret with yourself. Let me give you a concrete example of how this works in real life. Imagine you wake up tomorrow morning. The first thing you do, before anything else, is sit up in bed and whisper to yourself in English. I slept well. I feel rested. Today is Thursday. I have work today. I should get up soon. Just simple sentences, true sentences about your actual life right now. Or maybe you're making breakfast. You're standing in your kitchen and you whisper, I'm making coffee. The water is heating up. I can smell it. I like this smell. It helps me wake up. Notice what's happening here. You're not translating from your native language. You're not thinking in your language first and then switching to English. You're going directly to English because you're describing something that's happening right now, in this moment. This is incredibly powerful because you're training your brain to think in English, not to translate into English. There's a huge difference. When you translate, you're always one step behind. Your mind has to process the thought in your native language, then convert it to English. But when you think directly in English, even in simple whispers, you're looking forward. You're in the moment. The language flows from the experience, not from translation. Now, Maria tried this. And you know what she told me after just 1 week? She said, Marcy, something weird is happening. When I whisper in English every morning, it feels so easy. The words just come. I'm not worried about mistakes because nobody's listening. And then, when I go to work and I have to speak to my colleagues, I notice I'm a little less nervous. The words come a little faster. After a month, she said, I don't freeze anymore. I mean, I still make mistakes. I still don't know every word, but I don't freeze. The English just comes out. That's the power of the whisper method. Here's what I want you to understand. You don't need to practice whispering for an hour. You don't need to do it perfectly. You don't need to make complete sentences or worry about grammar. Start with just 1 minute. 1 single minute when you first wake up. Whisper about anything. I'm still in bed. I feel warm. I don't want to get up yet, but I need to. Today I have things to do. That's it. Just honest, simple sentences about your real life. After a few days of this, something interesting starts to happen. Your whisper naturally gets a tiny bit louder. Maybe it becomes a soft voice. Then, maybe a normal speaking voice. But you never force this. You simply notice, oh, I'm speaking a little louder today. That's nice. This is what we call organic growth. Growth that happens naturally from the inside, not forced from the outside. And here's the beautiful part. Because you started with whispering, speaking never becomes this huge, terrifying thing. It's just a slightly louder version of something you've been doing comfortably every day. The fear never gets a chance to build up. So that's the whisper method. Tomorrow morning, try it. Just 1 or 2 minutes. Whisper in English about your morning, about how you feel, about what you're going to do. No pressure, no judgment, no audience. Just you and your whisper. Now let's talk about something that I think is one of the most underrated techniques in language learning: narrating your life. When I say narrate, I mean describing what's happening around you as if you're the narrator in a movie about your own life. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Marcy, that sounds weird. I'm going to feel silly talking to myself about making a sandwich. And you know what? You might feel a little silly at first. That's totally normal. But some of the most powerful learning techniques feel a little silly at first. That's actually a good sign. It means you're doing something different, something outside your comfort zone. Let me tell you about another student of mine. His name was Kenji, and he was from Japan. Kenji had been studying English grammar for probably 15 years. He could explain verb tenses better than most native speakers. He knew the difference between in, on, and at in ways that would make an English teacher jealous. But he couldn't have a natural conversation to save his life. Every time he spoke, he would think subject, verb, object. Present perfect or past simple, which preposition goes here? His brain was so busy analyzing grammar that he couldn't actually communicate. So I gave him this assignment. Kenji, for the next week, I want you to narrate 5 minutes of your day in English, out loud, every day. Just describe what you're doing like you're explaining it to someone who can't see you. He looked skeptical, but he agreed to try. The first day, he sent me an audio message, and this is what he said. I am walking to kitchen now. Floor is cold. Very cold. I don't like. I am opening refrigerator. There is milk, but not much. Maybe tomorrow I need buying milk. Also, I see eggs. I think I make eggs. Yes, I will make eggs. Was it grammatically perfect? No. He said, I need buying instead of I need to buy. He didn't use articles correctly all the time. But you know what? It didn't matter. Because for the first time, Kenji was speaking English fluently. The words were coming out naturally, without overthinking, without stopping to check every grammar rule. And that's the whole point of the narration game. See, when you narrate what you're doing, you're not trying to impress anyone. You're not trying to say something smart or profound. You're just describing reality, simply and directly. There's an expression in English, to call it like you see it. It means to describe things honestly and straightforwardly. Let me break down 3 different ways you can play the narration game depending on where you are and who's around you. Version 1. Silent narration. You're on a train. People are all around you. You obviously can't speak out loud. So you narrate silently in your mind. There's a woman across from me. She's reading something on her phone. She looks serious. Maybe it's work. The train is slowing down. We're coming to a station. Version 2. Whisper narration. You're at home, but maybe someone is in another room. So you whisper. I'm washing these dishes. The water is hot. This pan is really dirty. I should have washed it earlier. Version 3. Full voice narration. You're completely alone. Maybe you're driving to work. Maybe you're cooking dinner. Nobody can hear you at all. So you speak at normal volume. All right, I need to chop these onions. Let me get a cutting board first. Okay, here we go. Wow, these onions are strong. My eyes are already watering. That always happens. I'm going to cut them into small pieces. All three versions work. They're all training your brain to think in English while you're actually living your life. Now here's where the narration game gets really powerful. After you've practiced narrating what you're doing, the external actions, you can start narrating what you're thinking and feeling, the internal experience. For example, I'm feeling stressed right now. I have a lot to do today. I'm worried I won't finish everything. But I think if I stay focused, it'll be okay. I just need to take it one task at a time. Breathe. It's going to be fine. See what happened there? You moved from describing the outside world to describing your inner world. You started expressing your emotions, your worries, your self-talk in English. This is huge for language learning because real fluency isn't just about describing things you can see with your eyes. It's about expressing things you can't see. Your thoughts, your feelings, your doubts, your hopes, your dreams. When you can narrate your inner life in English, even imperfectly, you've crossed a major threshold. You've made English personal. You've made it yours. Tomorrow, pick one routine activity. Maybe it's brushing your teeth, or making your bed, or commuting to work. During that activity, narrate what you're doing. Just 5 minutes. That's all. Simple, direct, real. And after a week of this, I promise you'll notice something. English starts to feel less like a foreign language and more like a natural part of your thinking. Now I want to talk about something a little bit sneaky, a little bit fun, and incredibly effective for improving your English. I call it the eavesdrop exercise. Eavesdrop is a wonderful English word. It means to secretly listen to other people's conversations. And normally, yes, eavesdropping is considered a bit rude. But in language learning, eavesdropping is absolute gold. Here's the thing. Most English learners, when they hear native speakers talking, they try really hard to understand every single word. But I want you to try something completely different. I want you to listen not for meaning, but for music. Every language has a rhythm, a melody, the musical quality to it. English has a very specific rhythm that's completely different from other languages. English is what linguists call a stress-timed language. This means we put strong emphasis on certain syllables and words, and we kind of rush through other parts. For example, listen to how I say this sentence naturally. I'm going to the store to buy some milk and bread. I don't say every word equally stressed. I say, I'm going to the store to buy some milk and bread, with certain words loud and clear, and other words kind of squished together. This rhythm is something you absolutely cannot learn from a textbook. You have to hear it, feel it, absorb it into your body. So here's what the eavesdrop exercise is all about. Next time you're in a public place, a cafe, a park, a bus, anywhere, and you hear people speaking English, I want you to do something different. Don't try to understand what they're saying. Instead, close your eyes for a moment if you can, and just listen to the sound. Listen to the ups and downs. Listen to which words get stressed and which words get swallowed. Listen to the fast parts and the slow parts. It's like listening to a song in a language you don't understand. You can still appreciate the melody, even if you don't know the lyrics. There's an expression in English, to get a feel for something. The eavesdrop exercise helps you get a feel for English rhythm. Now here's the second part, and this is where it gets really interesting. After you've listened to English speakers for a minute or two, I want you to mimic them. Not their exact words. You probably won't remember those anyway. I want you to mimic their rhythm, their melody. You might hum or mumble something like da-da, 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 da-da. Just nonsense sounds that follow the rhythm pattern you heard. I know this might sound ridiculous, but it works incredibly well because you're training your mouth and your ears to work together. You're teaching your body the physical pattern of English speech. Musicians do this all the time. Before they play a complicated piece of music, they might hum the melody first, just to get the rhythm into their body. And here's what happens over time. When you speak English yourself, even when you're practicing alone, your rhythm starts to sound more natural. Not because you studied rhythm rules, but because your body absorbed the pattern. This is what we call embodied learning. It means learning with your whole body, your ears, your mouth, your breath, your muscles, not just your brain. Language is physical. Now, I want to add one more layer to this exercise. When you eavesdrop on English conversations, pay attention to the emotional tone. How do people sound when they're excited? How do they sound when they're bored? In English, we communicate so much emotion through intonation, the way our voice goes up and down. The word really can mean completely different things depending on how you say it. Really, with rising tone, means surprise. Really, with falling tone, means disappointment. Really, with strong emphasis, means excitement. Same word, totally different emotional meanings. When you eavesdrop, try to catch these emotional tones. You don't need to analyze them deeply, just notice them. And then, when you practice speaking English yourself, you can experiment. You can try saying the same sentence with different emotional tones and feel how the meaning shifts. This brings your English to life. So that's the eavesdrop exercise. Listen for rhythm, mimic the melody, notice the emotion. Let's shift gears and talk about questions. Most English learners think about questions in a very limited way. They think, questions are things other people ask me, and I need to have good answers ready. But what if I told you that questions you ask yourself, are actually one of the most powerful tools for learning English independently? Let me introduce you to something I call the question collection. Here's the basic idea. Instead of trying to make perfect statements or describe things perfectly, you simply collect questions throughout your day. Questions in English. Questions about anything and everything. And here's the key. You don't need to answer them. You just need to ask them. Let me give you some examples. You're walking down the street and you see a dog. Instead of trying to describe the dog perfectly, you just ask yourself, I wonder what kind of dog that is. Why does it look so happy? Where is it going with its owner? You're on a crowded bus. You think, why are there so many people today? Is there something special happening? You're eating lunch and the food tastes different. You wonder, did they change the recipe? What ingredient is different today? Simple questions, honest questions, questions that come from real curiosity about the world around you. Now, why is this so powerful? First, questions keep your mind active and engaged. When you make a statement like, the sky is blue, your mind kind of closes down. But when you ask, why is the sky blue? Your mind stays open. It keeps exploring. Second, questions feel psychologically safer than statements. When you make a statement, you might worry. Is this correct? But when you ask a question, you're not claiming to know anything. You're just wondering. Third, questions are actually how we naturally think, even in our native language. Pay attention to your thoughts today. I bet you'll notice that many of them are actually questions. What should I eat for dinner? Did I remember to respond to that email? Why am I so tired today? We're constantly asking ourselves questions. That's how human thinking works. So when you start asking these same kinds of natural questions in English, your English thinking becomes more authentic, more natural. Let me tell you about a student named Aisha. She had this habit of always trying to speak perfect English. Every sentence had to be grammatically correct. This made her incredibly stressed. So I told her, Aisha, for the next 2 weeks, I don't want you to make any statements in English. I only want you to ask questions, and you don't have to answer them. After 1 week, she said, Marcy, when I only ask questions, I don't feel pressure to be right. I can just be curious, and the English comes much more easily. After 2 weeks, she said, I've been collecting questions every day, and I've noticed something. Some questions keep coming back. Questions like, why do I worry so much about making mistakes? Or, how can I be more confident? And asking these questions in English is helping me understand myself better. That's exactly the power of the question collection. When you ask deeper, more personal questions in English, you're not just learning a language. You're using the language as a tool for self-reflection. Here's your practice. Every day, collect 3 to 5 questions in English. Don't worry about grammar. Just ask, why does this song make me feel emotional? How do people stay motivated? What makes a good friend? Now we're going to talk about something that most English textbooks completely ignore, but that's absolutely essential for real communication: emotions. Think about the English classes you've taken. They probably taught you basic emotion vocabulary like happy, sad, angry, scared. But here's the problem. Real emotional life is so much richer than these 5 basic emotions. You don't just feel happy. Sometimes you feel content. Sometimes you feel relieved. Sometimes you feel grateful. Sometimes you feel proud. These are all different flavors of happiness. And if you only know how to say, I am happy in English, you're painting with one color when you could be using the whole rainbow. So I want to introduce you to something I call the emotion map. The emotion map is a way of building your emotional vocabulary through actual lived experience, not through memorization. Here's how it works. Each week, you pick one basic emotion. Let's say you start with happy. Now, throughout that week, every single time you feel any kind of positive emotion, you get curious about it. You ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling right now? What's the precise word for this feeling? And then you find that word in English, and you connect it to the actual experience you're having. Let me give you examples. Monday morning, you finish a difficult work project. You don't just feel happy, you feel relieved. That's happiness that comes when stress ends. So you say to yourself, this is relief. I feel relieved. Tuesday afternoon, someone gives you a compliment. You feel pleased. That's happiness mixed with validation. Wednesday evening, you're sitting with tea, watching the sunset. You feel content. That's quiet, peaceful happiness. Thursday, you help a friend and make a difference. You feel fulfilled. That's happiness from meaning and purpose. Friday, you get unexpected good news. You feel delighted. That's happiness mixed with surprise. See how different all of these are? Same general category of positive emotion, but completely different experiences. And here's what's beautiful about the emotion map. You're not memorizing these words from a list. You're experiencing them. You're living them. And then you're naming them in English. This is what we call experiential vocabulary, words you learn through lived experience. And experiential vocabulary is the strongest kind. When you felt relief and named it in English while you were feeling it, that word becomes part of you. You won't forget it. Maybe you only learn 1 or 2 new emotion words per week. That's totally fine. In a year, that's 50 to 100 nuanced emotion words deeply connected to your real life. We're getting close to the end, but I want to share one more technique. And this one might be the most counterintuitive. It's called the pause practice. Here's what most English learners believe. To get better at speaking, you need to speak faster, more fluently, with fewer pauses. Pauses are bad. But let me tell you something that might shock you. Native English speakers pause all the time. We pause to think. We pause to breathe. We pause to find the right word. Pausing is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of thoughtfulness. There's a wonderful expression in English, to gather your thoughts. It means to take a moment to organize your thinking before you speak. And native speakers gather their thoughts constantly. So here's what the pause practice teaches you: how to be comfortable with silence in English. Most learners panic when they can't think of a word immediately. They feel like they're failing, so they either give up or they rush ahead with the wrong words. But here's a different approach. When you're practicing English alone and you get stuck on a word, instead of panicking, you pause. You say to yourself calmly, what's the word I want here? And then you wait. You don't rush. Sometimes the word comes. Sometimes it doesn't. Either way, you stay calm. If the word doesn't come, you do what native speakers do. You work around it. This is called circumlocution, finding another way to express the same idea. For example, if you want to say disappointed, but can't remember it, you might say, I feel not happy. I wanted something different. It didn't happen the way I hoped. The pause practice teaches you how to be comfortable with silence while you search for words, and how to express ideas even when you don't know the perfect vocabulary. When you're talking to yourself in English, deliberately create pauses. Feel the silence. Notice that nothing bad happens. Those pauses feel uncomfortable at first, but the more you practice them intentionally, the more you realize pauses are okay. Pauses are natural. And here's an unexpected benefit. Pauses actually make you sound more thoughtful. People respect that. So don't try to eliminate pauses from your English. Learn to use them with purpose, because ultimately, fluency is not about speed. Fluency is about comfort. And when you're comfortable with pauses, you're comfortable with English. All right, beautiful people, we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about the whisper method, starting small and private with your voice. We explored the narration game, describing your life like you're narrating your own movie. We discovered the Eavesdrop Exercise, absorbing the rhythm and music of English. We learned about the question collection, using curiosity as your guide. We built the emotion map, expanding your emotional vocabulary through lived experience. And we practiced the pause practice, embracing silence. 6 techniques, 6 different ways to practice English completely alone, without pressure, without judgment, without fear. But here's what I want you to remember most of all. Learning English is not about becoming someone different. It's not about changing your personality or suddenly becoming more outgoing. It's about becoming more fully yourself in another language. You don't need to pretend to be someone you're not. You just need to bring who you already are, your thoughts, your feelings, your curiosity, into English, little by little, moment by moment. And that happens not through force, but through gentleness, not through pressure, but through patience, not through perfection, but through practice. There's a beautiful expression in English, to come into your own. It means to develop your full potential, to become confident in who you truly are. My deepest hope for you is that English helps you come into your own, not by making you someone else, but by giving you more ways to express the amazing person you already are. So be kind to yourself this week. Be patient. Be gentle. Try one technique, just one. Maybe you'll whisper in the morning. Maybe you'll narrate your lunch. Maybe you'll collect 3 questions before bed. Whatever you choose, do it with curiosity, not with judgment. Do it for yourself, because this journey is yours. It's personal, it's unique, and every small step you take, every quiet moment you practice, every time you choose English, even when nobody's watching, That's you building something real, something lasting, something beautiful. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. It truly means the world to me that you're here, that you're listening, that you're learning, that you're growing. I'm Marcy, and this is English Naturally. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, stay curious, and remember, you're doing so much better than you think you are. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.